What is the former president charged with? So there's 4 crimes here. 3 are crimes of conspiracy. 1 is a crime that the government says actually took place. What is a conspiracy? A conspiracy is an agreement by 2 or more people to achieve a criminal end, to commit a crime. But because they did not succeed in committing the crime, the charge is conspiracy, the agreement. The idea of conspirators meeting in a dark room with a bare light bulb over them and making notes on their conspiracy is just from Hollywood. In reality, conspirators don't always meet together. They don't even always know each other. They just have a common purpose and feed common information to them. And then at least one of them takes at least one step in furtherance of the conspiracy. I myself, when I was on the bench, as a legal scholar, as a professor of law, as a commentator on Fox News, have argued against conspiracy crimes. I think they're profoundly unconstitutional because they punish thought. The most famous, simple attack on conspiracy is from Clarence Darrow summing up to a jury. Now, this is 150 years ago, so the dollar figures are quite different. He says to the jury, if a boy steals a dime, he's not going to go to the penitentiary. A small fine will do. But if 2 boys conspire, agree to steal a dime, and then don't steal it, they are candidates for the penitentiary. What kind of a country does this? He asks the jury. One of the jurors shouts back, ours. At that point, he knew he was going to get an acquittal. But he's quite correct, because the conspirators are those who agreed to commit a crime, but for a variety of reasons didn't succeed in committing it. So they're basically being punished for their agreements, for their thoughts. That's 3 of the charges against Donald Trump. What are they? The first is conspiracy to defraud the United States, to deny the United States the benefit of its presidential election. The second is conspiracy to obstruct a congressional function, that is, an agreement intended, if it had carried out, to prevent the Congress from counting the electoral votes. The third is a conspiracy against the right to vote. That is a conspiracy against all the voters in the states that the Trump people had targeted: Arizona, Michigan, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania. The fourth charge against him is obstruction of justice, actually preventing the counting of the votes, which, because of the mob on the floor of the House of Representatives, where the House and the Senate were meeting in joint session, presided over by the Vice President, Mike Pence, they were forced to flee the Capitol building. So that is conspiracy as well as an accomplished crime, obstructing a governmental function. Of course, the governmental function was eventually performed later that night after the building had been cleared. The Congress came back into the House chamber. They met, they counted the electoral votes. Mike Pence did the actual counting, and the vote on the floor was to accept the election of Joe Biden. At that point, he was, for the first time, officially, legally, and constitutionally proclaimed the president-elect of the United States. So why does the government charge a variety of different crimes, and why these thought crimes? Well, the thought crimes are easier to prove because the government does not have to prove harm. Normally, the government has to prove harm, like in the obstruction charge. The harm is that members of Congress were fearful of their own safety. So they were actually harmed. The government's process was delayed. It took more time and cost more money to count the ballots. That's the harm there. But conspiracy charges do not require the government to prove harm. It only needs to prove the agreement and at least one step taken in furtherance of the agreement by at least one of the conspirators.